Today I am taking you along with me as I do some more batch cooking for my large family. I'm starting off with bread. This is fresh sourdough bread that has been fermenting on my counter all day long. And I'm just getting this dough on my counter, shaping it a bit so that I can separate this into two batches. I'm going to make a boule out of the first batch, which is a circular crusty bread loaf, and then with the second one, I'm going to make some bread rolls. I love being able to make several different types of bread, whether it's a sandwich loaf, a boule, or bread rolls, all with the same master recipe. It makes the making of bread very simple. And these rolls are going into a 375-degree oven for about 25 minutes. Next up, I'm preparing some vegetables to roast. I've got some carrots, cauliflower, and also some russet potatoes. I start off by chopping up the cauliflower, trying to make sure that I cut them all about the same size. I get those into a bowl, rinse them off, and then get my potatoes here that I've rinsed off already. And I like to put a plastic bag, like one that you get from the grocery store, into a bowl and then peel my carrots and potatoes into that bowl with the bag in it. If I'm chopping up onions or celery or any other vegetable, I'll put all of the peels, skins, and seeds into this bag so that when I'm done, I can just tie it up and throw it in the trash can. That way, I don't have to smell onions in my kitchen the next morning when I wake up because everything's been tied up in that bag. So now my rolls are ready and they're coming out of the oven, and then I'm getting started on the next thing, which is meatloaf. And what I love to do with my meatloaf is use half ground beef and half ground sausage. And what this is croutons that I've blended in the blender because the recipe calls for breadcrumbs, but I don't usually have breadcrumbs. But I do usually have croutons. So they're also flavored better than any breadcrumbs I've ever gotten from the store. So I'm mixing in all the ingredients, which include a couple of eggs, these breadcrumbs, some ketchup, and whatever spices you like to flavor your ground beef with. And I'm going to split it in half. And I thought I would bake the meatloaf in one pan, but because it has pork in it, I thought, you know what, it will probably be better to bake them in separate pans so that I can make sure that it gets fully done. Then I am getting this vegetable tray ready with some seasonings, some salt and pepper, and some avocado oil. And I'll toss that together and put it in the oven along with the meatloaf. I had saved some of the potatoes in a bowl of cold water and put that in the fridge because I'm going to use those the next day with another meal. Here I am mixing up the topping for the meatloaf, and this is some ketchup, barbecue sauce, steak sauce, some different seasonings, brown sugar, and after the meat has been cooking for about an hour, I top it with the sauce and pop it back in the oven for about another 15 minutes or so, and it just kind of caramelizes the glaze, thickens it a bit, and gives the meatloaf exceptional flavor. I am getting ready to make a big batch of my friend Miss Anna's baked oatmeal. This is her family's favorite recipe, and I'm so glad that she shared it with me. I think it's becoming a favorite of ours as well. I'll write it in the description for you. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I've been doing so much of this batch cooking lately. I started doing some meal prep at the start of the new year. This was an effort to have healthier options for my family available in my fridge, already prepared and ready to just put on a plate and warm up. I also was trying to figure out a way that I could make things easier on myself after recently having a baby. As a homemaker, I feel like this is something that we do as seasons change in life, like having a new baby or homeschooling an extra child that's now become school age. We can adapt by switching up our routines, evaluating our systems, and making little tweaks and changes to fit our needs in these new seasons. Batch cooking has been serving me so well that I just had to figure out how to make it a new habit. And the way that I figured I could do that is by making it a part of my weekly routine. So what that looks like for me is one day a week I've designated a kitchen day. And this is the day that I'm doing my batch cooking. And these meals don't last all week long, but they do last for about 3 days. And 3 days of not having to cook a brand new meal is a huge blessing for me. Okay, now it's getting real. I'm making some granola, y'all. This is homemade cereal. This granola is so delicious. It's crunchy, it's sweet, a little bit salty, super high in protein with all the oats and nuts. There are also some really good healthy fats in this granola because of those oats and also the coconut oil. I just rinsed out that bowl that I use for the baked oatmeal, and I'm mixing some honey with some of that coconut oil that I warmed up on the stove, along with some salt and cinnamon. Then I add in the oats and nuts and get all that nice and coated, and then just spread it onto this big baking sheet that I have, and I press it down so that I can get some good chunks of granola and not have all the oats just fall apart. I had forgotten to add some shredded coconut, so I did add some of that as well. And now I'm just going straight into some pancakes and waffles. Now this is not going to be for breakfast for the week. I'm going to batch cook these pancakes and waffles and then put them in the freezer. And the reason for this is to make my Sunday mornings a bit easier. Sunday morning, I don't know if any of you find yourselves rushing out the door to get to church and have to run and pick up something for breakfast or resort to an unhealthy breakfast like cinnamon buns or something like that. And we've definitely done that before. But again, in an effort to have healthier options and make things easier on myself, I thought I would give this a try, and I can say now that it was such a blessing because when Sunday morning came around, all we had to do was pull the pancakes and waffles out of the freezer, pop them in the oven, and we saved time, we saved money. And so I'm definitely going to be thinking of some more quick breakfast ideas for Sunday mornings. If you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. So now I'm just tending to this granola, stirring it around because you have to do that about halfway through the baking time so that it gets evenly crisp. And I'm getting my pancakes and waffles going, got my cast iron skillet here. I love cooking with this pan. It doesn't stick, and it's coated with this black enamel, so it's very low maintenance. You see those bubbles there on the pancakes? That's how you know they're ready to flip. I like to use a 1/4 cup measuring cup for pancakes. It makes them the perfect size. And then for my waffle iron, I'll use a 1/2 cup measuring cup. And again, it's the perfect size every time. Now for the granola. It's come out of the oven, and now I'm just adding this dried fruit. I've got some raisins and golden raisins and a little bit more of the shredded coconut. And you see my baked oatmeal has come out, and we like to enjoy it with some plain whole milk yogurt with a drizzle of honey or maple syrup, and adding some fresh fruit is always a delicious option. So I'm pouring my granola into this glass jar. It's so pretty. I just love to look at it. I think it is beautiful and rustic looking, and even more importantly, it was really delicious. And I just store it here on the counter. Now I am wrapping my pancakes and waffles that have cooled down a bit into this aluminum foil. I didn't have any freezer bags, so I just wrapped them up in foil, put them in this Tupperware to go into my freezer, and they weren't freezer burnt or anything. It worked out really well on Sunday. We had some of the baked oatmeal that same day, and then I just put the rest into this glass container and stored it in the fridge, and it keeps for a few days in there. So now I am unboxing my new cast iron enameled Dutch oven. I'm slowly switching out my old nonstick cookware to cast iron and stainless steel, so I'm really excited to use this. I'm making a pot roast using this farm dust seasoning that my friend Cecily found at a local Mennonite store. But you can find it on Amazon too. I'll leave a link in the description. It's the only seasoning I used on this roast, and it was beautifully flavored and didn't need anything else. It's important to get a good sear on your roast before putting it in the oven, and that's one of the things I love about using this cast iron pot. Here I'm adding the potatoes that I had saved from the day before, and getting some onions and a bell pepper cut up to throw in as well. After searing both sides of the roast, I put it into a 350-degree oven for about 3.5 to 4 hours, and when I took it out, I was just able to take a fork and easily shred it. It was super tender, juicy, and flavorful. It was the perfect roast. I didn't have a clip of taking it out of the oven because we had company over, but here is a little clip of what was left over after we finished eating, and you can see how tender it was, and also how nothing stuck to the pot. This pot was very easy to clean as well. I'm so glad I made the switch. Batch cooking is becoming a new habit for me, and as a newer stay-at-home mom with lots of little kids, this is a busy season of life, and I wanted to share something that's been helpful to me with all of you, and I hope that it is. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.